Hi my friend, in this video we're going to be making groovy tech house synths and vocals inspired by Fisher's song, Waiting for Tonight. And we're going to find out if we can do this in under 1 hour by using the 80-20 rule of tech house, synths, and vocals. What you're listening to right now is the song we'll be working on. And what you're looking at right now is the Ableton project file that we'll be working on. In particular, we're going to focus on this melodic group right here. We're going to go in order as I actually built everything out, all these individual layers, so you can follow along when you're creating synths and vocals for your own tech house tracks. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video. We'll be doing a full recap of the 80-20 rule so you can apply everything you've been learning here to your own songs. Because all in all, it only took about an hour, maybe an hour and a half for me to get the synths and vocals. It's quite minimal, I would say. It's mainly that piano bit. And all in all, mixed, mastered, arranged, ready to go. As you can see here, only took about maybe 6.5 hours for me to complete. So if finishing songs faster just like this is something you'd like help with, I've also made you a free bundle of templates, samples, and special bonuses that I use to completely finish one song like this every single week. Just visit the link that's on screen now or in the description to grab your copy of the Ultimate Song Finishing Toolkit for free. And if you'd like to take things to the next level, you can also find a link to this video's project files in the description as well. So with that said, let's jump into this. All right. So when it comes to the synths and the vocals for this one, really one of the first things was the vocals that I added in. And I actually added these vocals in around the same time that I was working on the bass line. What I've been finding lately is, especially if you're going to be kind of creating a remix or something that has a very, very important hook, it's really smart to build out your bass line with that in mind. So that way you're not creating a cool bass line, then trying to like fix the vocal to get incorporated correctly. It's a lot easier to adjust like the MIDI notes of a bass line. It's a lot harder to adjust like how a vocal is being sung or anything like that. So I think that's super important. And that's why we're going to start off with the vocal. In this one, what I went for was like similar vibe. It's like this like early 2000s R&B-ish pop music is very in terms of like the remixes right now. So you can see it in like the Waiting for Tonight J-Lo flip there. So I went for something similar and end up with the Britney Spears I'm a Slave for You. So I'm going to play this for a little bit and that way you can have a listen to how it sounds incorporated. So that's how it sounds. I'm going to turn it off as I speak through it. Double vocals can sound a little bit confusing and hard to understand. But basically what I did is I just threw it. I found an acapella just on like YouTube. If you just type in a song and type in acapella, you can usually find like somebody used like an AI thing or whatever to get it out there. And you might be able to just like grab it off of YouTube. So that's what I did in this instance, a lot quicker. And then what I did is I found out the BPM of the track and then changed this track to that BPM temporarily. Then turned on the warp and adjusted it to Complex Pro, played with the formants and the envelope a little bit to make it sound a little bit more natural. And then once the timing was set in correctly, kind of moved on. Other than that, the main thing, as usual with the 80-20 rule, is having the reference track in here. So we have the Fisher song Waiting for Tonight in here, and I've turned it off and set it so when I flick the S key, I can hear that song versus our song. And then main thing is to get the volumes right. So have a listen to the vocals. So you can hear, I'm hoping, like getting the volumes is really kind of the main thing. That's going to really get you to that professional level. Because other than that, once the volumes are set, you've picked what you want in there. It's standard channel strip. So this is what I have on all my MIDI and audio channels. First off is we're removing a little bit of the lows, make sure that it's not conflicting with like the kick or the bass or anything. You kind of want to keep that headroom there nice and clean, leaving it so that all of the low ends coming from the bass and the kick. And just shaving off a little bit off the top here. Mostly this is for like an arrangement trick. There's a part of the song where I swelled it up slowly. Other than that, we're just doing a little bit of sidechain. The way I prefer to do sidechain is with like an Ableton Shaper device like this, going to quarter notes and just ducking down the gain. So this way you don't have to like add in a compressor and map it to the kick and all that kind of crap. With these one knob things, you're just dialing it in, using your ears, moving on. That's definitely the way I prefer to go about things. In this instance, we're also doing a little bit of some sends and returns. So a little bit, you can see very lightly dialed in. We're using a bit of a reverb here, Valhalla vintage verb, and a couple different delays, a shorter delay at eighth notes, a longer delay on quarter notes, and then I'm not using any of this, but I usually like to have a modulation like a chorus. The main thing when dialing these in, if you can listen to it, also soloed. It's very subtle, and the trick that I always like to do is when you're dialing this in, say the reverb, what you want to do is bring it in slowly. Once you can hear the reverb, like fairly audibly, dial it back a little bit. And that's kind of the method I use when applying reverb and delay. Nice way to make it so it's subtle, it's tasteful, and it's fitting in the mix nicely. Moving on from that, the next main element is this piano, so let's have a look and listen to it. Listen to the reference. So I went for a little bit of a different style. I think the main thing is you're kind of looking for that like slightly percussive sounding piano bit. I had to obviously change it so that it was fitting in with like the tune that I'm working on here. And for what I was liking, it was more of this held notes. And I usually don't do this, but I actually programmed in all the individual MIDI. I was having a hard time finding any kind of cool sample-based way to do it, so I actually programmed it in. It's mostly, I just kind of like listen to this track. Ding, 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 ding. I kind of went for a similar kind of vibe with that rhythm and adjusted it, flicking back and forth between this and the bass line that I wrote to kind of follow along with the chord progression. And then just did some weird little things like to taste, like how some notes are jumping ahead and kind of like that. Just did it by ear. I'm not a music theory person. I can't explain too much about this, but hopefully looking at it helps. In terms of once my process though is once like the notes are in, the next thing I go for is the sound design. So I found this upright piano sound, which is part of Ableton, I believe, and then just adjusted it to get rid of some of the reverb, brought back the release a bit, make it a little bit more percussive sounding. Then threw on this like lo-fi sampler thing, probably very subtle. Just adds a little bit of character and vibe to it. And then using the EQ8 to get rid of a bunch of the lows, and then I'm shelving out a bit of the highs, which is going to be a more natural way to get rid of some of the highs. And then I'm using the low-pass filter to slowly swell it in. It's a bit more of an arrangement technique. Then using this transient shaper, so this is the free kilohertz transient shaper. All I've done is just mapped all the key knobs to a Ableton rack, so you can just one knob things, move quickly through things without getting distracted by the UI and any of that stuff. So I increase the attack, so this is the transient of the hit. It's getting emphasized a little bit more. And then I brought down the sustain a bit to kind of tighten it up so that the rest of the note isn't sustaining or decaying as long. Then we're running into that one knob sidechain, just giving some pumping vibes, and also making it so that the kick hit is coming through a little bit nicer. And then we're using a little bit of saturation, so this is just Ableton Saturator. As you can see here, I just mapped it here. Usually I like it in this configuration because usually when you add in some sidechain, it's going to decrease the volume a bit, and I like to bring it back with saturation, but it's also just generally something good to have here. It's a way to thicken up sounds a bit, make it sound a little bit fuller, maybe a little bit more grittier, not quite distortion, but it's a nice way to add some character as well. So I like to have it there, we're increasing it there. Then we're running it into this one knob width plugin. This is the Polyverse Wider. This is also another free plugin. Again, I just mapped the key, all the key knobs to an Ableton rack, so it's just all there ready to go. And just dialed it in a little bit. This is kind of pushing things to the left and right, making it a bit more stereo, making room for stuff in the middle. And that's a look at that. So it comes in a couple different areas. This is a little bit more arrangement-y, but I want to show you how this looks. So there's a couple different spots. So first, it's in this like chorus, this break. And I do have another vocal track here where I just kind of cut up little bits like this, like that breathing. Sounds so sick. We'll listen to the drop for a bit. That's that one there, but then there's also this. So if we listen to like, it's almost like a bit more of an arrangement trick, but what's cool is to build out the full piano house, full chord progression bit like that. Then what I did was I I copied this over and flattened and freezed it so that it was an audio bit. And then that way I was able to create like the little stab bit that comes in here. So let me stop the app and show you. Get a loop. Okay, so let's have a look. So what this is we have a listen to the reference. That little, I kind of heard it as maybe it was like from the Piano House bit in the Waiting for You for Tonight track. I like the idea of reusing bits throughout the song, so there's almost a consistency through the track that like the listener can hear, almost like a theme. So I found a bit where just it was like I just chopped it up a little bit, but it was more or less doing a similar rhythm. Dropped it into there. In terms of any processing, added in the shifting grit preset, trying to make it sound a little bit less like just a piano, and then standard channel strips up. So we're removing a bunch of the lows, a little bit of saturation to fill it out, and a little bit of width. And then what I did is I panned it a bit to the right, and then I added an additional element to the left to kind of fill it up. Let's solo it. And then together with the piano. And so what I went for, I think I looked up like rave stab or something like that over on Splice, and then found this thing where you can see like that delay trail that it kind of has, or I'll show you right here. What I did is just chopped it up a little bit like that, and then went and kind of played around with it so that at certain points it's kind of echoing out. There's definitely nothing like that in the original tune, but I thought it was cool, so I added it in like that. And then they kind of work together, because if you do listen to the original reference, it doesn't sound like a piano. It sounds maybe a little, some kind of synthesizer or something like that. So I feel like layering it was a cool idea there. And then I also want to show you this next little trick here. So going into the verse here, what I did was I took a bit of the vocal. Let me just show you it actually. And let me bring it back, and I'm going to solo it for you as well. So have a listen. Okay, and then that's what that looks like right there. So the idea is, what I did was I found the vocal, and from the Britney Spears bit here, I took a little chunk of it and exported out, and then added a bunch of reverb to it, and then consolidated that, and then reversed it. So it's like a way to create like a nice little swell. Hopefully that was not too confusing. I can make a separate video on that, but you could also look up like reverse vocal technique or something like that on YouTube, and someone could probably explain it better. That way goes into. It's a nice way basically to create it so that it like makes it so that when the vocal comes in for the verse like that, for example, it's not as unexpected. It's like leading into it. So that's a look at that right there. I think that might more or less be it. I want to see if there's anything else that I can show you that's cool. Okay, then the other thing that I did add was a little bit of a pad. So have a look and listen to this. I solo it for a second. And this isn't really in the original track. This is something that I added to kind of make things a little bit more full and interesting in the break. Because we have listened to maybe there's some kind of pad. But just like a nice way, when you have like drops or breaks like this rather, like that, it could be a nice way to add in a pad so that you can fill out the sound a little bit more, because you're taking away a bunch of elements. So it can be nice to bring in something like that. And listen to this drop, it sounds so sick. I love that, it's so freaking cool. But yeah, other than that, quick little other things I want to show you real quick is like during the break, snatching some of like these other bits to use as like this I took like that little stabby thing, and it's just like something subtle, repeating, adding some kind of vibe to the breaks a little bit. And then another thing too is if you listen to the piano, it's cut up, so then instead of the full chord progression, it's like chopped up a little bit. And then same thing, grab that vocal. So just like little ways that you can make like the build sound really interesting, because that's definitely what Fisher did, or whoever made the song. Made it here. You can hear like they chop everything up really cool in a way, like right here. And everything kind of gets chopped up as a really cool way to make like a really cool build up into the final drop. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good look at this one. If you want to take a bigger, deeper dive into this, definitely check out the project files for it. And you can have a look at every little thing that has been done here. So what we'll do next is we'll do an overview of the 80-20 rule when it comes to creating synths and vocals like this, so you can kind of take note of the 3 or 4 key things you're going to want to think about and work towards when you're building out tracks like this. Before we jump into that, I also want to mention that this video is sponsored by our good friends over at Rocket Powered Sound. They hooked up the drums here, so the solid ass kick that you're hearing is 2 combinations of kicks from their Ultimate Sample Pack, which is a collection of over 1,000 really iconic and usable drum samples. Super useful, especially if you watch the portion of this where we're going over the drums. That similar sound feature, having a solid sample library is really important when you're using kind of AI to replace stuff and all that kind of interesting stuff where music production is going. But anyways, that was a ramble. Main thing is to say thank you to them for sponsoring it, and you can also grab that Ultimate Sample Pack for 30% off by using the code ULTIMATEBESTFRIENDS. There's links and the code on the screen right now, and there's also links and everything like that in the description. But with that said, yeah, thanks to Rocket Powered Sound, and let's jump into the 80-20 rule for this one. Hi, my friend, Matt from Best Friends Club here. And if you've been paying attention, then you've probably figured out what the 80-20 rule is when it comes to creating melodic elements like synths and vocals for your music. The goal here is to get 80% of the result with only 20% of the time, energy, or effort. And because the first key to the 80-20 rule when building out your melodic elements is to use a reference track, we are making sure that we're effortlessly hitting 80% of a very professional benchmark. In particular, we use that reference track to focus on playing in the right key, following a similar rhythm, and selecting the right sounds. This just keeps things fast and focused. The second key is to mix as you go in an extremely streamlined way by only focusing on the volume of our sounds compared to the reference track, as well as using a simple repeatable channel strip for each track that we add to our songs. The third and final key is that you don't want to reinvent the wheel each and every time, so you should start a practice of repurposing your old project files by adding old project files, racks, and groups to your collections area in Ableton. By creating a suite of powerful templates, Ableton racks, and one knob effects that you've personalized and curated over time, you'll be able to get a higher quality result faster. If you'd like to get a head start by downloading all the racks, templates, and all the files that you've seen me use in the Ableton project file for this video, or if you'd just like to take a closer look at any of the techniques or tracks you saw me work on in this video at your own pace, you can find a link to this video's project files on screen now and at the second link that's in the YouTube description. I'm recreating a different song from the Beatport top charts every single week and making the project files available to anyone who wants them. You'll also get access to a private Discord where you can ask me and the community questions, as well as share tracks for feedback. If you or your music are not quite ready for a shot in the arm like that, I've also made you a completely free bundle of templates, samples, and special bonuses that have helped me figure out how to completely finish one new song each and every single week. And you can grab that free Ultimate Song Finishing Toolkit by visiting the first link that's in the YouTube description here. However, if you just feel like staying on YouTube for now, that's totally fine. Save that link for later and check out this playlist of videos where I remake other melodic elements like synths and vocals from other songs in the Beatport top charts. Or if you want to take what you've learned in this video to the next level, check out this video right here.